before people start podcasting, what would be probably like 3 or 4 things you would tell them to do before they start and publish that first episode?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing the reoccurring theme now. It's funny because in the first few minutes you said this podcast is likely going to be about me talking about other people to really highlight how I kind of grew my success, right? And I'm noticing that there's a consistent theme that's happening there. Let's talk about the podcast now. I mean, the podcast has grown tremendously. It kind of caught on fire and really just took off. You eventually added a partner. You found your stride in that. We also know podcasting is a multi-billion-dollar industry, probably only going to continue to grow. What opportunities did you see to jump into podcasting the way you did? And is it still evolving? Can we expect, say, the podcast to be what it is now for the, immediate future? Or is it going to continue to evolve and have different almost seasons of it?
I really like the format that we're in right now. Again, like if you look at the first few episodes, I didn't have a name for the podcast. I was just trying to promote an event. And it really took about 2 years for me to make any money or anything. I wasn't even like looking at the growth. It's like YouTube. I'm looking at YouTube, but I didn't know that like podcast is a whole nother thing. And actually, I make more from the audio podcasting side than YouTube. So I didn't jump in because I was thinking, let me start a podcast and make some money from the podcast. It was to promote an event. And then as I'm promoting the event, I'm like, dang, I love this. And what was crazy, I had an opportunity to ask people for a free coaching session, like in master of the podcast.
That's funny.
What I liked. That's what I liked.
That's super dope. Now, you teach podcasting, right?
For sure.
Based off the stuff that you've done. Now, my question is, like, before people start podcasting, what would be probably like 3 or 4 things you would tell them to do before they start and publish that first episode?
Yeah. I help X do Y by Z. So I help X do Y by Z. I help X. X is the who. Who is the avatar, the type of person that you are speaking to. We're not talking to a whole lot of people. We are talking to a very niche. I'm sure they learned a whole lot of that on this Nicky and Moose podcast. So I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I help X. So we got to really identify who we're talking to. I talk to beginning entrepreneurs, people who want to get to that next level. I'm not talking to someone that's making millions that want to make more millions. I'm not teaching people how to go from $1 million to $1 billion. That's not my lane. I'm talking to the person that got a job and a dream and they're trying to bridge the gap. And you can tell that that's who I'm talking to because I'm going to give you my format. My format is when I sit down with someone really successful, I'm automatically going to establish why they're on the podcast. How successful are you? I was very personal question. How much money you got? How much money you made? Like, what is the successes? Because I want Rico, who's working at his job, to look and be wowed by this person's success. But as soon as we figure that out, I'm going to take that guest back to when they were in Rico's shoes. I want to know what happened from the time where you were working a job and a dream and you're trying to bridge that gap. And then we're going to work our way all the way back up to all this money that you made and all the success that you had. But I've crafted that formula for my target audience. So I help X do Y. What do you want this person to be able to do? What is the what? Do you want them to be able to become full-time entrepreneurs? Do you want, you might say, I help single parents, manage education and connectivity with their kids. The what would be how to be connected to your child. So you know who you're talking to and you know what you want them to accomplish. Now, all the topics that we talk about, the people that we pick to interview, we know what the goal is for this person. But how do you do it? What is your strategy? Well, we're going to do it through the podcasting. We're going to do it through a course. We're going to do it through, the podcast might have, yearly retreats or something like that. So I help single parents connect with their kids by interviewing people who have mastered it, whatever, right? So if you come up with that statement, I think that'd be like a real beeline to your goal as a podcast.
Hope y'all taking notes, people. Hope y'all
Yeah,
taking
that was
notes.
good. That was good. What's the, and I don't know if you study anyone or it just comes natural to you, but you talk about that format, which is really scientific, right? You're talking about getting straight to the point in the beginning, but then going back to the beginning of journey and working your way back up. Who have you studied to really become a better interviewer and get comfortable asking people some pretty uncomfortable questions? But quite frankly, they probably connect with the audience in a real tangible way because it's right there on a platter for you.
I study a lot. Well, I didn't get that formula from anybody. I just got it from my own. I'm almost 300 episodes in. So like you do something long enough, you start developing a formula. But Larry King was so direct and in your face. It was almost like you could be having a whole nother topic of conversation and he's going to pop out with a very personal question. I watched David Letterman ask Jay-Z about cheating on his wife. I'm like, oh my God, the way he framed it was crazy. My man, it was wild. He starts talking about a situation that he was in where he had messed up in his own relationship. And this had to go on for a few minutes where he starts talking about it. And then he looked at Jay-Z with this question. He said, well, I was just wondering if that's something you could relate to. And I said, Now, Jay danced around. He didn't really go in on the answer, but the fact that he asked it, fast forward, I'm in an interview with two twins. One is they're both women, right? One
Shout out to Swag.
Shouts out to Swag. So one of the questions that pops up mid-interview in my head, I'm like, y'all grew up together and we went separate paths with sexual preference. And for 15 minutes, I'm thinking to myself, I really want to know the answer to this question, but I don't want to offend anybody, but I really want to know. So how am I going to ask this question? I'm asking questions and listening to their answers so I can ask other questions. But in the back of my mind, I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question. And I asked it. And I think I was proud of myself the way I asked questions I wanted to know. And I forgot how I asked it, but I remember I was relieved. I said, ooh, and they both laughed. They had, and it was a really, really good answer. And I was like, yo, this is amazing. I got over my fear because I've been, again, almost 300 episodes in. I've been in scenarios where I want to ask a question, but by the end of the interview, I'm upset with myself because I didn't ask it because I couldn't figure out how to do it. I say all that to say, if you do something often enough for long enough, you start to figure out some formulas. And I'll probably be Larry King was interviewing people for 50 years. I was watching David Letterman as a child on the late night show. So of course he's a master at asking a very personal question to a very, very successful man. I would never even hint at a question like that to Jay-Z, Mr. Jay-Z. Really?
Mr. Jay-Z.
But he's David Letterman. He's David Letterman. Like you see, the humor that Ellen brings to serious conversations, and she can go high with you in terms of having fun. She can come all the way down and be very vulnerable. I'm like, yo, this is Arsenio Hall. He can go off script and just he's at this point, he's still pro-black. I am a black man. You step out of line. This is my show. I would never attack one of my guests at the show, but he did, and it's classic stuff. So one, I studied the craft, but I've been doing it over and over and over and over again. So I don't see any other direction that I'm going because what we're doing right now is helping a lot of people. Obviously, more platform, bigger stages, bigger platforms. But I love what I do, man.